Shiree, thank you so much for joining the Nonstop Nonprofit podcast. I heard you're a rock star in podcasts.
This is my first one. I'm going to be a rock star.
There you go. How has AFP been so far?
It's been great. I love being around my colleagues. You know, we're in a very unique profession, and it's part of coping to come together with your colleagues.
Yeah.
You learn a lot too. You know, the session that I had today, we make sure that it's very interactive because we learn from each other.
Yeah.
Not just from listening to, you know, the presenter or being a presenter. So I love coming to AFP.
Yeah, it's great to be back in person.
Yes,
like you said, and it's you know, the energy, the momentum. I love that, and so
yes,
definitely glad to be back in person. You've been a fundraiser for a while,
a long time. Guess how many years?
12.
31.
31 years. How has the industry changed over 31 years?
Well, it's definitely changed in what funders want to know about your organizations.
Okay.
I think when I first started, you know, I started at a police athletic league. Are you familiar with them?
Police athletic league.
So kind of like an after school, summertime youth development organization. And back then we could just say, oh, we're going to serve 1,000 kids this year. Give us the money. And just because we had the numbers and we were in certain neighborhoods, you know, we didn't have to provide a lot of data. There wasn't a lot of, say, before and after. So that has changed quite a bit now. Definitely more data and metrics driven. And even your individual donors want to know exactly what is your impact and how are you measuring that. So it's changed quite a bit.
Yeah, but I mean, obviously you've been around for the ride and you're enjoying it.
Absolutely.
How do you see yourself for the next 31 years being a fundraiser?
I can't imagine not being a fundraiser. You meet the best people. I think philanthropists, you know, I'm an idealist. I think you have to be an idealist to work in the nonprofit sector. And so it's like, I really feel like I want to change the world and I want to help other people change the world. And I think we all have a role to play, whether that be somebody who's volunteering or somebody that's writing a ginormous check, whatever, however you want to say it.
Yeah.
Or, you know, a person like me who's on staff. The program delivery people, right? All those things have to come together. So yeah.
What's one of your proudest moments as a fundraiser?
Wow, I've had a lot of them. Recently, I managed a 30th anniversary event for an after-school organization in DC, and they had never hosted a fundraising event of that scale before.
Yeah.
I remember when I said we have to raise more than $100,000 and we have to do, you know, X, Y, and Z. And really, they kind of looked at me like it was an impossible task. And yet it came together. We exceeded all the goals that were set. And we had this amazing event for this, you know, hyper-local organization in DC. And our founder was there. And we had a journalist who served as our master of ceremonies, and he was just so awesome. I don't know if you know the name Bruce Johnson, but Bruce Johnson was from WUSA 9, and it was just an enormous event. It was a huge milestone for the organization, and the fact that we were able to celebrate it the way that we did was really fantastic.
That's awesome. Congratulations.
Yeah, very exciting. Yeah. And I exceeded all my fundraising goals, so that's always good. I left that organization. I'm starting with a new organization, but I left there. I went out with a bang.
You went out the bang. So, you know, I was a fundraiser for 12 years.
Okay.
And for me, like the hardest thing about fundraising was January 1st. Right? It feels like everything just like started over.
Yeah.
Like everything you had accomplished in that year, like it's almost like the clock sets it back to zero.
Yes.
Do you deal with that at all, or have you found ways around?
Well, I think it's one of those never-ending cycles, right? But I always think that the beginning of a new year is an opportunity to set a new goal and accomplish it.
Yeah.
So oftentimes, like, how many things can you work on at once? So for an example, like if you want to start a major donor society, for example, like you could that could be your focus for 1 year, you get it done, And then the next year, maybe you're working on the Legacy Society.
Yeah.
Or you're working on that event or something else.
Yeah.
So I think, the start of a new year is an opportunity to add something to your development portfolio.
I like that. That's a good perspective. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're here at AFP. You spoke this morning or this afternoon.
This afternoon, yeah.
The topic was what it's like to be a black fundraiser in a mostly white philanthropic environment. Is that correct?
That's close.
That's close.
That's really close. Yep. That's
Okay.
in essence what it was about.
So yeah, dig into that. Help me understand what it is like. What are the challenges that you face in this environment? And I have another question, but I'll pause.
Well, I think one, the statistics are staggering. How much of a minority we are in the nonprofit sector, and especially in leadership positions. So 87% of nonprofit CEOs in the United States, 87% are white.
Wow.
So what does that mean? Only 13% are black, right?
Yeah.
Or other race.
Yeah.
Right? So then we look at board chairs. 83% of board chairs in nonprofit organizations are white. I mean, the numbers are staggering.
Yeah.
So I think for us, that means that we are walking into the room. One, we got to interview with people that don't look like us, who don't know the challenges that we come with. We're working with philanthropists that don't look like us. And sometimes you have a feeling that you should not be your authentic self, right? That maybe you should pretend to be something else or try to be more like the person that you're talking to.
Yeah.
And so having very candid conversations about preconceived notions, about the environments that we work in. I know for me, I bring my past to my work, my philanthropic work. And it's one of the things that motivates me to help level the playing field for underserved, underrepresented, populations. And so you can either make that, the passion and your drive, or you can kind of get caught up in it and not have the best career experience, not be as successful a fundraiser as you possibly could be, because it's a weight. It's a heavy weight that you carry with you carry it with you every day.
Right. You mentioned in your session it's interactive.
Yes.
And you're looking around here, it's mostly white people. So what was the interaction that individuals were a part of? I'd love to hear about that. And how did people respond in the session?
So what's interesting is that AFP does an annual study, the IDEA study every year on race and nonprofits and all of that, and it's coming from the association, and they have found that 90% of their members are white. So, but we're here, we're out here.
Yeah.
But for some reason, a lot of black fundraisers are not coming into AFP. I think that's often because they don't see themselves in the chapter, or there could be barriers. Sometimes we are working for small organizations that won't pay the membership fee, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
So you're asking about the session. We wanted this session to be very diverse, but we knew that because of the topic, we're going to be a lot of people of color in the audience, and there were. And one of our white attendees stood up and said, it's great to see all these people of color, but really this session is for people like me, for the white guy,
Yeah.
And there were a few people that raised their hand and said, whoa, I'm white. But it was 6 people.
Yeah.
So I think the lesson for us, we make it very interactive because we provide time for people to turn and talk to each other on some of the discussion topics. We allow people to stand up, come up to a microphone, and bring up a topic that they're wrestling with based on what we've presented. So very, very interactive. I mean, to the point where we had to sort of shut it down from all the questions and everything.
Yeah.
But I think what we want to accomplish is to tell people that you can have these candid kind of conversations, and there's ways to have them.
Yeah.
We're going to help them articulate their experience so that they can explain it to other people, explain it to their CEO, executive director, say why maybe they don't feel supported in their role, and then explain how they could feel supported.
Yeah.
But we have to give them the language and the tools to be able to do that. And so providing the framework to say, this is what it looks like for me. I'm walking into a space that's mostly white. I want to be authentic, but maybe I'm afraid to be so.
Yeah.
If your organization's CEO is not supporting you in being authentic, and maybe they're diminishing you in front of donors, then it's going to be hard for you to be successful.
Yeah.
But you can work with someone if they're not quite understanding what is going on.
Right.
So that's what we're trying to help people do.
Got it. I hear a lot of organizations who are predominantly white, when they talk about how they're trying to diversify, like the team, kind of justify it by saying, hey, we opened up our recruiting and no one applied, right? Which I think is bullshit reason.
Right.
But what's your perspective to those people that say that? Like, obviously, I have some thoughts too, but I'd love to hear your perspective, because I hear that often, and I'm sorry, I feel like it's 2022. Like, this shouldn't really be the thought process today.
Well, I think a lot of times in the nonprofit sector, because we are lean organizations, we're unlike corporate America that can just throw money at problems, you know. But where we are posting openings is probably the first
place
issue, right? And a lot of times we use our networks. So if you're white, what's your network? Is your network mostly white?
Yeah.
But I'm a person of color. Is my network mostly white? No, it is not. So I think sort of getting out of whatever your sphere is or your bubble and increasing how positions are posted, seeking out different kinds of networks to post positions. I think, our chapters are really good resources in that regard. I'm with the DC chapter. We have a Black affinity group with the DC chapter. And there are other affinity groups, too, that you can, get to, maneuver to within different chapters. So that's one of the things I would definitely suggest. And making an intentional effort to reach out to candidates of color, minority candidates, whatever that definition is. But you can't do it the same way you've always done it and then expect a different result, right?
Yeah, totally. Yeah. Do you have hope that our industry will get better at this, or?
Oh, it definitely will. I mean, like I said from the beginning, we're the idealists, right? We're the do-gooders, and the communities that we're helping are, I think, pushing us. One, you've heard this expression, community-centric fundraising, right?
Yeah.
So our communities are pushing us to work differently. And that, I think, in turn is going to ripple out and have us really look at ourselves, look at the industry, and look at how we're doing some of these things, like you said, like recruiting and whatnot.
I think also like democratizing the purse strings, right? I mean, you think about at the grant making level, the way that decisions are being made on funding is often boardroom decisions, not people on the ground, on the front lines, who would have a much better say on how funds should be dispersed and where they should go. Yeah. In your experience, have you seen sort of like even a lack of diversity in funding because of how it's controlled?
I really haven't seen that.
Okay.
In my experience, and I've worked with all different kinds of funding organizations, from companies to, medium-sized foundations or family foundations. I think the onus is somewhat on us as a fundraiser to make the connection why the organization is worthwhile. Yeah. And that may mean that we are sending information to a funder for a couple of years before they actually fund us, that we are initiating some conversations with them. A lot of information, public foundations, there's a lot of information out there that you can find out about them, what their portfolio looks like. And so I think we have to have those, they could even be awkward conversations to say, we've looked at your portfolio. We think we'd be a good fit for your portfolio, and here's why. Yeah. And then to continue having those conversations with the funder or the program director or whoever that is. Yeah. So I think some of the onus is on us. I do think, all of us in the sector need to, sort of look in the mirror and take a close examination of who we are, a realistic, view of who we are and how we're operating. Some organizations are doing a better job at that than others. Yeah. And I don't know that we'll ever eliminate, implicit biases completely. but we can move the needle, I think.
Yeah. I mean, having like open conversations in the workplace about it, it's not enough, but it's a starting point, right?
Right,
to
exactly.
At least, bring to the table what's happening and what's important to discuss and to work towards.
I agree with that. And that's one of the things that we said a lot today, that, this is a way to put some of this stuff on the table.
Yeah.
And a lot of times I think as a Black fundraiser, like, you go through these cycles and you don't even understand where you are in the cycle. But we provided, like today, language for people to articulate. Here's some scenarios, and here's one that I've been a part of, being a token person. So an organization identifies, we've got an issue with a lack of diversity, let's hire a person of color. But then the person of color comes in, they're unsupported, the expectations are unrealistic, they're supposed to like solve world hunger on their own or something, So there's frustrations, and then they wind up leaving, and then the cycle kind of starts all over again, right?
We were actually, I was talking about this with Kashana a little bit yesterday. She talked about how a lot of times people of color, when they're given the CEO position, it's often in times of crisis.
Yes.
Right? Or there's no funding, or and so then like you look back and it was it's insane that
you're almost set up to fail.
You're set up to fail. Exactly.
Right. Yeah.
13%. That's hard to wrap my head around and to remain optimistic. But we got to take it one day at a time.
Yes. Yeah.
I have some rapid fire questions for you.
Okay.
Are you ready?
I don't know if I'm ready, but I'm gonna try to be ready.
Awesome. All right. So there's no wrong or right answer here.
All right.
Don't worry about it. Are you a movies or series person?
Movies.
What's your favorite movie?
Forrest Gump.
Oh, that's a great movie. That's a great movie. I love that movie.
And the other one, this is crazy. I don't know how these two things go together, but I really like Aliens.
Aliens.
The Alien series with Sigourney Weaver, but the second one, not the first one.
The second. Usually
the
Marines, first one's always better, but
the Marines.
Yeah.
Okay. I really like that one.
Tacos or cheeseburgers?
Tacos. Yeah.
Steak, chicken, shrimp.
Shrimp. Yeah, I don't eat meat like that.
Beach. I was talking. Are you vegetarian?
Pescatarian.
Okay.
Yes.
I was talking to a pescatarian yesterday. And they're like, I can't eat anything with a head on it still.
Yeah, right. See, yeah.
Digital reading or an actual book?
Book. Got to turn those pages.
Hardcover or softcover?
Either.
It's fine.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hardcovers stay home though, mostly.
Yeah, they're more decorative. They're better decorative, right?
You don't carry she's carrying the hardcover. That's great. I love it. She just bought that in the bookstore, right?
Yeah.
The AFP bookstore. Check it out, everybody.
Ice cream or froyo?
Ice cream.
Everyone has said ice cream. I think froyo is definitely going out. No,
because first of all, I think the frozen yogurt thing is like save some calories or something. Yeah. But then you wind up putting the cookies and the fudge on top of it anyway.
And it just ends up
just
right
have
there.
The damn ice cream,
Football or football?
Oh, football.
Football.
Yeah.
All right.
American football.
Jets.
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 Gotta get that in. Okay.
I think Andrew's a Jets fan, right? No. Oh, Eagles. That's right.
Oh.
Moana or Aladdin?
Whoever.
Moana.
Aladdin.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. I like the give me the wish thing.
The genie in a bottle.
Yeah, I like that idea. And Will Smith played a great. I know he's in trouble now, but he played a great Aladdin though. For real, he did. Okay.
Yeah. So that was my follow-up question. The original, which he gets very upset when I ask, or the live or the.
I like the Will Smith version.
Yeah, me too.
I did. I liked it.
Yeah, I like that one better too. Awesome. Well, thank you.
He's in trouble, not me. I didn't do nothing.
Well, thank you so much for joining the podcast.
Thanks, Justin. Thanks for having me today.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Good luck with everything.